Welcome back to the VA Virtual Assistant Training video course, and in this video we're going to look at how and where to find a VA and the typical information that you need. Well, to get started finding a VA, there literally are lots of places on the internet where you can go and search and find them, and I'm going to go through some of them for you as we go through this video. Information that you need to be aware of is that you want to make sure that when you employ people, you employ them on the basis that they will be self-employed and paying their own taxes and any dues that are available to them, or they have to make payment in their country or region. And please make sure that it's stated and that's clear when you want to set up using a VA. And also make sure whichever country you're based in, you're covering the bases so that you don't then suddenly get stung for a tax bill yourself. You want to make sure as well when you actually start and get yourself a VA, you get them to sign an agreed contract that you've had created. Even, for example, if you're in the United States for IRS purposes, you'll need to file, I believe the form is a 1099 if you're paying them over a certain amount of money per year, even though they're a freelancer. And that's if you're both located in the US. And the reason why is it clearly states then on the contract that they are a contract worker. Otherwise, you might end up having to pay the taxes for them. So you want to make sure that that form is completed so that if you do get people sniffing around and asking questions, you've got the right documentation to show that this person indeed is a VA working for themselves and registered to pay their own taxes. So just make sure whichever country you're in, you've covered the bases and you're not liable for any taxation that they may have. Now, some of the basics you can consider is, if you're looking for a VA, where should you find them? Well, one of the places you could actually start is by doing a search on Google, but make it central to where you are. So if you're trying to find someone who's local to you, maybe you're based in Chicago, you might want to literally use the term Chicago Virtual Assistant, or even the neighborhood that you're in, example. If you're going to use overseas, obviously you'll want to broaden your search and maybe start using some of the virtual directories. If you type into Google anything along the lines of virtual assistants, you'll then tend to find that there's lots of results coming up and you can start to explore. Speak to other people, word of mouth, go onto forums that you frequent a lot of, perhaps work at home type forums if you know people, and ask for people to recommend if they've got a recommendation of virtual assistants and where they got them from. The other usual suspects you can use are places like Freelancer, Odesk, Elance.com, etc. All the sort of freelancer type sites. You can use those to recruit people because then you can find freelancers who will then actually work as VAs and stay with you. The other thing as well is go through social media. If you have a Twitter account, if you have a LinkedIn account, if you're using Plaxo or Facebooks or any of those types of places, try posting or making a tweet that you're looking for a VA and then see if you get any replies. You'll be amazed how you can actually recruit people through this method. There are dedicated forums and places that you can go to, and again, as I said, I'm going to show you some of those in just a moment. There is actually a place which is the Virtual Assistants Chamber of Commerce that's being run. It's a privately run site. I believe the name has recently changed, and we'll have a look at that for you as well. And it's a place where people can be trained to become VAs, and therefore might be a good starting point for you as well. When it comes to paying people, we'll cover that in a later video, but don't forget, if you're employing people from overseas, places like India, the Philippines, etc., you might find that the hourly rate that they're charging or willing to charge may seem exceptionally low compared to a local person if you're in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the US, the UK, etc. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the work that they do will be any less quality. In fact, sometimes it could even be better. So just bear that in mind when you're looking around and think about what the needs of your business are when you're looking for a VA to begin with. As I mentioned, the place used to be called, and it says it here, the Virtual Assistant Chamber of Commerce is now called the Administrative Consultants Association, and you can find them, their web address, I'm going to pull it down here for you, is the administrativeconsultantassociation.com. So you can have a look there. They've got some information. These people are normally, though, that will come in here will be people looking to become a virtual assistant, but you can also find some good information for yourself on here as well. As I already mentioned, that the recruitment or the freelancer forums are a good place to look as well if you're looking for a VA. and especially if you're going to be taking somebody on a longer term, because once you get them working with you on a regular basis, you can build that relationship and rapport we talked of in earlier videos. The other thing is as well, if you come here, this one's actually called freelancer.com. If you're just actually looking for ideas on how to place an ad, etc., and how to find someone and the way to recruit them, we'll talk more about recruitment specifically in the next video. But if you actually want to find a way of what kind of questions you should be asking or the way you should structure a post, if you come along to someone like Freelancer and just type in virtual assistant in the search box, you'll see here we've got a couple of pages of results coming up, and you'll see there's all different posts and there's lots of bids as well. And the great thing is you can then drill down and have a read of each of the different posts that are on here. You can see what kind of pay people are offering, what type job type, what kind of thing they're actually posting and looking for in a person. I mean, there's people looking here for anything from data entry and telemarketing through to article submission, copying, basic internet marketing, doing web search, doing data entry. There's all sorts of jobs being looked for here with the virtual assistants. It will get you more of an idea of what other people are looking for, what they're paying, and then how many bids that's attracting as well. And you'll see obviously that being a virtual assistant is quite popular because there's more and more people bidding on these jobs, it seems, by the day. And you can drill down and read more about each of these jobs just by hovering over them, and you can click and read in more detail if you want to. One place that's very popular for recruiting, especially with VAs, is someone like Odesk. And the reason for that is you actually find the contractor or the person that you want, and then you review the work. One of the things, I'll scroll down here, the great thing about Odesk is it stays on top of work progress with screenshots, timesheets and daily logs. You actually get snapshots of their working screen as well, so you can make sure they're not just sitting there wasting time not doing anything, that they're actually working. And it's an easy way to pay as well. But a lot of people have found a lot of successful VAs through sites like Odesk. If you want to recruit more specifically, let's say for example you're based in Maryland, in Baltimore, you could go to someone like Craigslist and be specific and post a job for a virtual assistant within Craigslist. It's been a bit hit and miss in the past, but you can get some good employees this way, especially if you're looking to recruit local. Start to also go to Google and find your local job classified sites as well, and then start posting on those. If you're looking to hire overseas, another one to go to directly is bestjobs.ph, and that's a job site in the Philippines. And again, you can get some fantastic people and very cost effective as well through this particular site. You just search for VAs and have a look at what other people are posting, and then you can go ahead and post a job here for free yourself, and then go through the process I mentioned in the last video about setting up a task for someone and having an interview, and then actually go through the process of interviewing the person and the people and compare. Try some of the freelancer sites, see what kind of bids you get. Use sites like Local Classifieds and Craigslist. Use sites like Best Jobs, and then you'll get an idea of the people that are out there that you could be employing. But when it comes to actual pay, you'll find that some virtual assistants will work for as little as $3 to $5 an hour. But a typical guide rate, if you're recruiting perhaps in the US, would be anything between 10 to 50 an hour, depending on their experience, the type of work that you want them to do. Do you want them to do social media management marketing for you? Do you want them to do data entry, customer services, link building, just basic of setting up information, recording information, uploading to directories? It depends on the type of work as to the type of pay. So like I said, go to some of the sites and look at the ads that others have put out, and look at the typical bids that people are making and the types of jobs that are being responded to with the pay on the different local classified sites, and that will give you an idea of the going rate. The other thing as well is always check references, and I can't stress that enough. Don't just assume someone says, yeah, I'm brilliant, and accept that. Ask them to provide you with references, either people they've worked with before, whether it's been in companies they've worked for before, or since they've been a VA, or if they're just doing freelancing. Get them to give feedback from clients that have used them, because at the end of the day, you can't just take people on the word. You need to, when especially you're coming to the interview process, you want them to make sure that they're legit and have actually done the type of work that you've done before, or at least able to do the work using the video instructions that you're giving them. The other thing you want to do as well is make sure you put in place like a confidentiality clause or a non-compete clause so that they're not working with other people at the same time doing similar work and then crossing over information saying, hey you, I'm working for this other person and they get me doing this and this, why don't we do it this way as well? I can basically copy the information over for you. You want them to commit to you and to have some kind of confidentiality agreement in place as well. And finally, something that you want to consider when you're starting to look to recruit a virtual assistant is don't get confused with someone who's an actual real employee sitting in your office with you, or a temp worker that you've got out to your office for the day. They actually work quite differently. Even though a VA might be loyal to you and do a 40-hour week for you, they could be in a situation where they're working excessively hard and they're working 100 hours a week, so they've actually got 3 or 4 clients on the go on their books, and they're working around their time and their family whenever they've got time, and they're working for you accordingly. The thing about a VA is quite often you'll be setting them tasks to complete, and they'll complete that when they have the time to do so. If you need them to be specific to you at certain times of the day, you want to make sure this is clear to them when you're in the recruitment stage, because they're not there sitting by at their desk waiting for you to bark an instruction at them where they leap up and start working. Most VAs will have a planner system where they'll work to so that you'll have set them a task and then there'll be an agreed deadline and then they'll have it back to you. If it's a case of you picking up a phone and saying to someone, I want this done, it takes 2 hours and I want it in 2 hours and 5 minutes from now, not all VAs will be able to work in that way. So this is something that you want to have clear in your mind. You want to plan this out in advance, know what types of projects your VAs are going to be completing for you, and then have this agreement put in place at the very beginning. And also allow for the fact that most VAs tend to be work-at-home mums or people with families, and that things do happen from time to time. Events happen in our lives which causes deadlines to get shifted a little bit. It's not quite the same as being in an office environment for 7 hours solid, whereby you're there, you work through your day and then you go home. If you're based at home and you're doing your work, things and situations can make your flexibility come into play as a VA, and you might, rather than have done it at 9 o'clock this morning, end up doing it at 9 o'clock tonight, provided of course the client's happy with that. So make sure you've laid that out with the VA in the beginning so you both know how each other's working, and you'll find your relationship working together will be a lot smoother and you won't be burning through 6 new VAs per week. In the next video, we'll start talking about recruitment and where you might go to look to employ your VA and the process that you might want to consider when you're actually employing them.